The Chicago skyline cut a jagged silhouette against the bruised twilight sky. Wind howled through the canyons between buildings, a mournful symphony echoing the city's hidden pain. Streetlights flickered, casting long, dancing shadows that concealed more than they revealed. Nightfall in Chicago, a time when the city's dark heart beat strongest, a time when whispers of forgotten tragedies swirled in the air, carried on the wind. And in the forgotten corners, in the shadows of progress and despair, some stories refused to die. This was the Chicago that birthed legends. Legends born of blood, of injustice, of the gnawing fear that festered beneath the city's glittering facade. Legends like Candyman. His name, a whisper on the lips of the brave and the foolish. His story, a chilling reminder that some doors are best left unopened, some truths better left buried. But in the heart of Chicago, some stories had a way of clawing their way back from the grave. They say he was once an artist, not just any artist, but a man whose work transcended the canvas, whose brushstrokes captured the very essence of life. His name was Daniel Robitaille. Daniel Robitaille, a man whose skin was the color of midnight, possessed a talent that was unmatched. His art was a reflection of his soul, a soul that was both beautiful and tormented. He painted with a passion that few could understand, a passion that was both his gift and his curse. He lived in a time when Chicago was a city divided, a place where the color of your skin could be a death sentence. The city was a boiling pot of racial tension, a place where dreams were often crushed by the harsh reality of segregation and prejudice. Accused of a crime he didn't commit, Daniel was hunted. The accusation was a lie, a fabrication born out of jealousy and hatred. But in those days, the truth was often the first casualty. Chased through the streets by a mob fueled by hate and fear, Daniel ran for his life. The mob was relentless, their anger a palpable force that seemed to consume everything in its path. They cornered him in the heart of Cabrini Green, a place that would become synonymous with his legend. Cabrini Green, with its towering buildings and dark alleys, was a place where hope often went to die. They beat him, mutilated him, his own paintbrush hand severed in a grotesque parody of his art. The hand that had created such beauty was now a symbol of his suffering, and then, as a final act of cruelty, they smeared honey on his body, a feast for the bees that swarmed the nearby apiary. The bees, drawn by the sweet scent, descended upon him, their stings a symphony of pain. His death was agonizing, his screams echoing through the night. The sound of his torment was a haunting melody that lingered in the air long after his voice had been silenced. But it was his spirit, they say, that refused to rest. Trapped between this world and the next, Daniel's soul was consumed by the injustice of his end. Fueled by the rage of his unjust end, Daniel Robitaille became something more, something monstrous. He became Candyman, a figure of terror, a ghostly apparition that haunted the streets of Chicago. His presence was a reminder of the cruelty that had been inflicted upon him, a warning to those who dared to forget the past. The legend of Candyman grew, whispered in hushed tones by those who feared his wrath. They say that if you look into a mirror and say his name 5 times, he will appear, his hook for a hand, ready to exact his revenge. The bloodstains on the mirror are a testament to his fury, a chilling reminder of the price of injustice. Over the years, many have tried to summon him, to test the legend. Some say they have seen him, a shadowy figure lurking in the darkness, his eyes burning with a rage that can never be quenched. Others claim to have heard his voice, a whisper in the night that sends shivers down their spine. The stories of Candyman have been passed down through generations, each one more terrifying than the last. His tale has become a part of the city's folklore, a dark chapter in its history that refuses to be forgotten. The bloodstains on the mirror are a symbol of his enduring presence, a reminder that some spirits can never be laid to rest. Even today, the legend of Candyman continues to haunt the imaginations of those who hear it. Children draw pictures of him, their innocent minds unable to fully grasp the horror of his story. But the fear is real, a palpable force that lingers in the air, a testament to the power of a legend that refuses to die. Bloodstains on the mirror, a haunting reminder of a man who was wronged, a man whose spirit refuses to rest. Daniel Robitaille, the artist who became a legend, the legend who became a nightmare, Candyman. Anthony, a young artist drawn to the city's gritty underbelly, stumbled upon the legend of Candyman like a moth to a flickering flame. The allure of the unknown, the darkness that seemed to pulse with a life of its own, called to him. It was as if the very shadows whispered secrets that only he could hear, secrets that promised to unveil the mysteries of the urban landscape he so passionately captured in his art. He saw in the story a reflection of his own struggles, his own desire to make a mark on a world that seemed determined to ignore him. The tale of Candyman, a figure born from pain and injustice, resonated deeply with Anthony. He felt a kinship with the legend, a shared sense of being overlooked and misunderstood. His art, much like the legend, was a cry for recognition, a plea to be seen and heard in a world that often turned a blind eye to the marginalized. He sought out the whispers, the hushed stories told in the shadows. These tales, passed down through generations, were more than just ghost stories. They were the collective memory of a community, a way to keep the past alive. Anthony listened intently, absorbing every detail, every nuance. He became a part of the narrative, his own story intertwining with the legend of Candyman. He visited the crumbling buildings of Cabrini Green, his camera capturing the decay, the graffiti-scarred walls like open wounds on the city's soul. Each photograph was a testament to the passage of time, the erosion of dreams, and the resilience of those who lived amidst the ruins. The vibrant colors of the graffiti contrasted starkly with the desolation, creating a visual symphony of despair and hope. Anthony's lens became a bridge between the past and the present, a way to document the stories that the city walls held. He felt a pull towards the legend, a morbid fascination that he couldn't ignore. It was as if the very essence of Candyman was calling out to him, drawing him deeper into the darkness. The more he learned, the more he felt compelled to uncover the truth. This obsession became a driving force, pushing him to explore the darkest corners of the city, to seek out the places where the legend was born. He spoke to the residents, their faces etched with a lifetime of hardship, their eyes holding a flicker of fear when he mentioned the name Candyman. These were people who had lived through the worst of times, who had seen the city change and decay. Their stories were filled with pain and loss, but also with a sense of resilience. They spoke of Candyman with a mixture of fear and reverence, as if he were a guardian of their collective memory, a symbol of their enduring spirit. Some dismissed it as a child's tale, a way to keep the kids in line. They laughed off the legend, attributing it to overactive imaginations and the need for cautionary tales. But even in their dismissal, there was an undercurrent of unease, a sense that the legend held a grain of truth. These stories, after all, had persisted for generations, surviving the test of time and the skepticism of the modern world. Others, though, their voices low and hesitant, spoke of seeing him, a fleeting glimpse of a hook-handed figure in the shadows. These accounts were filled with a palpable fear, a sense of dread that lingered long after the stories were told. They described encounters that defied explanation, moments when the boundary between reality and legend seemed to blur. For these residents, Candyman was not just a story, but a presence, a haunting reminder of the past. Anthony, skeptical but intrigued, pressed on, unaware that his pursuit of the truth would lead him down a path with no return. His journey became a quest for understanding, a search for meaning in the midst of chaos. He delved deeper into the legend, uncovering layers of history and myth that intertwined with his own life. Each step brought him closer to the heart of the darkness, to the point where the legend and reality converged. In his quest, Anthony discovered not just the story of Candyman, but also a deeper understanding of himself and the world around him. The darkness he was drawn to was not just external, but also a reflection of his own inner struggles, his own search for identity and purpose. Cabrini Green, once a beacon of hope, a symbol of progress for Chicago's Black community. In the 1940s and 50s, Cabrini Green was envisioned as a utopia, a place where families could thrive and children could play safely in the courtyards. The building stood tall and proud, representing a new era of public housing. Now, a crumbling testament to broken promises and forgotten dreams, the high-rises that once symbolized hope have become haunting reminders of neglect and decay. The dreams of those early residents have long since faded, replaced by a harsh reality. The buildings, once bright and new, were now scarred and decaying, their facades marred by years of neglect. The paint, once vibrant, now peeled away in large chunks, revealing the bare, weathered concrete beneath. Graffiti covered the walls, a testament to the frustration and anger of the residents. Their windows like vacant eyes staring out at the city that had abandoned them. The shattered glass and dark, empty rooms spoke of lives disrupted and dreams deferred. Each broken window told a story of a family that had once called Cabrini Green home. Drugs and violence had taken root in the fertile ground of poverty and neglect. The once thriving community had become a battleground, where gangs fought for control and drugs became a means of escape from the harsh realities of life. The hallways reeked of urine and despair, the stench a constant reminder of the neglect that had taken hold. The once clean corridors were now filthy and run down, a far cry from the vision of a safe and welcoming community, the air thick with a palpable sense of hopelessness. The dimly lit hallways and vacant spaces created an atmosphere of gloom and despair, where hope seemed like a distant memory. It was a place where children grew up too fast, forced to navigate a world fraught with danger. The playgrounds, once filled with laughter, were now neglected and unsafe, a stark contrast to the dreams of a better future, where survival was a daily battle, and every day brought new challenges. The residents of Cabrini Green had to be resilient, finding ways to cope with the harsh realities of their environment, and where the legend of Candyman held a chilling resonance. The stories of the Candyman, a figure of terror, were whispered among the residents, adding to the sense of fear and unease that permeated the community. The residents of Cabrini Green, trapped in a cycle of poverty and violence, struggled to find a way out. The weight of their circumstances was heavy, and the legend of Candyman only added to their burden, carried the weight of the legend on their shoulders. It was a constant presence, a reminder of the darkness that lurked just beneath the surface of their daily lives. It was a tangible presence, a constant reminder of the darkness that lurked just beneath the surface. The fear of the Candyman was real, and it added to the already overwhelming sense of hopelessness and despair. For some, it was a source of fear, a boogeyman used to control and intimidate. The legend of Candyman was a tool of fear, used to keep people in line and maintain control over the community. A boogeyman used to control and intimidate. The graffiti and stories of the Candyman served as a constant reminder of the dangers that lurked in the shadows. For others, it was a symbol of their own powerlessness, a reflection of the rage and frustration that simmered within them. The legend of Candyman was a mirror, reflecting the anger and helplessness that many residents felt. A reflection of the rage and frustration that simmered within them. The anger and frustration were palpable, and the legend of Candyman only served to amplify those feelings, creating a sense of unease and tension that permeated the community.